I like black jeans, I like chrome rings, I got great taste, I can good sing, rock fiction shit, I'm a zombie, resurrecting it, cause it's on me. I say I see lights, can you hear the thunder? I say I see smoke cause I'm burning rubber. I see smoke cause I'm burning rubber. To the soul, that's another fine angel. I can't help that I like him unstable. And when I'm done, she'll need a cane cause I'm able. Only fans, I want at her in my payroll. Can you hear the thunder? I see smoke cause I'm burning rubber. I see smoke cause I'm burning rubber.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the debut episode of Cursed Tapes. They're home for all things spooky, scary, anything else that goes bump in the night. I will be your master of ceremonies, Jagger. Welcome to Tape 1, Dead by Daylight Resident Evil Chapter. Joining me today, I have the ever so wholesome, totally punk rock, Bro Dude King himself, my evil twin, better known as EMACK401 on Twitch.
What up, people of the internet? How are we doing tonight? Welcome into Cursed Tapes.
How are you feeling, Emack?
I'm feeling good. I just finished streaming like 15 minutes ago, so I'm coming down from that, but I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk to you. You're my evil twin. I love that we finally get to collab on this. It's great.
I know. We've been talking about doing a collab of something for probably almost a year now. About
a year,
yeah.
We met a year ago, probably around this time.
Yeah, it was probably about this time, yeah. We bonded over horror and Dead by Daylight in another Twitch streamer's chat, Valaris. We met there, and we've just been bros ever since.
Pretty much. Like, I mean, to the point where your wife's artwork is in our home of my fiance's dog.
Ah, that's right. I forgot about that. That was you won the contest giveaway that she did.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that was Danny's Christmas present.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
So let's go ahead and get right into it. Today we're going to be breaking down the brand new chapter in the popular asymmetric horror survival game Dead by Daylight. With them adding Resident Evil into the game, they've definitely solidified themselves as a hall of fame of horror as far as games go. Do you agree?
I do. I feel that Dead by Daylight is pretty much holding the monopoly of asymmetrical horror. I don't think there's any other game that can boast this cast of characters, not only the licensed killers and survivors who are horror legends in their own right, but even the original killers and survivors are becoming legends for themselves, to the point where, you know, you're seeing more cosplay of them. I think Resident Evil really solidifies that. Because if they can get a huge gaming community or gaming company like Capcom on board, then, you know, where they can go even further.
Right.
So I would
Between
agree.
between having Pyramid Head from Silent Hill and now having Nemesis from Resident Evil,
Yes.
especially coming hot off the heels of Resident Evil 8, like
Oh my God, like the
it's
timing
such
could not have been more perfect.
it was perfect timing.
Right.
So when you first heard about the Resident Evil chapter, how excited were you for them to reveal who the killer was?
Yeah. So full disclosure, I have really only played one Resident Evil game.
Oh, that's right.
I've only played Resident Evil 1, but I've always known what it is.
Right.
Like that's the thing is Resident Evil goes above and beyond where even like people who aren't familiar with the series knows what it is.
Right. I
I
mean,
know it's significant. It's
Yeah.
a huge part of gaming culture.
well, if people
horror
don't
culture.
know, even if they don't know the games, it's like the movies, like the Paul W.S. Anderson movies, people know that, and that gives you a little bit of basis from what the games do. They kind of take it and run with it in the opposite direction, but like you still got people like the Tyrant and the Demon Dogs, Nemesis, Wesker, like those are household names now.
Yeah, Mr. X.
Right.
And now, with Resident Evil 8, a lot of those characters, like Lady D, is a huge character now.
Heisenberg is another one.
So, I would say that I was very excited because I also feel it was what the community was gonna need. Just because I feel like you have to think about the state of the game up until this point. Like people were getting a little burnt out. I felt people were not enjoying the twins. People were not enjoying Trickster.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel, and I came into the game a year ago, so I didn't get to play for the 4 years or 5 that most people. So like Blight, I thought that was the new killer Pyramid Head was the newest killer when I joined.
Right.
And that was a huge deal. And even I knew who Pyramid Head was.
Right.
And I had never even played Silent Hill. I think whenever they add licensed killers, it's a huge deal. I think that's the big thing. So I was excited.
Yeah, I came into the game about right after Huntress released, and they had just announced that Michael Myers was coming to the game, and that was their first licensed killer. All the other killers before that were all originals. So it started with Myers, and then Freddy came in, I believe, and then they did the pig from Saw.
Right.
And it just kind of snowballed from there. The only really big one they're missing now is Jason, and they're still in a legal battle with that.
Right, I was gonna say, I think that's a matter of time. If they can survive, if they can solve the legal issues regarding Friday the 13th, which is like a whole other episode of its own.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, but that's who they're missing, and they could do it. They know they could do it. I know they want to do it.
Honestly, I think if they finally solve the legal issue of a Friday the 13th, they could probably collab with the same people that made Friday the 13th the game. And use a similar mechanic and use like their base models and their skins and like do it that way. Because I mean, it's either it's either that or they start adding in other like game licensed killers.
Yeah,
which they are gonna start running out of some of them. I mean, they could do Alma from Fear. They could do like the Xenomorph from Alien.
Which even that's a whole other story because that's Disney now. So.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, you're right. That's even worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to deal with Disney would be a whole other mess of itself.
Yep. Yeah, that's something to talk about going forward in the chat today. I mean, it's hard because you have to think about when it comes to licensing killers, there's a really great content creator out there called Schmuckles who does a lot. I don't know if you're familiar.
I've heard of him.
Okay, so he does a lot of videos talking about who could be licensed killers and like what does it take to get the license. And it's super educational. In that I guess the behavior had a list of who they would want to include in future games. And there's a lot of big names like the Scooby-Doo gang was on that list, and Supernatural and Walking Dead and these are all like survivor types that you think.
Right.
And then for killers, I know you love Candyman. He's on the list, I do love Candyman. I've wanted Candyman for a while. I've wanted them to do Pinhead for a while. I've wanted them to do
Shoot, even if they did the Hookman from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting.
Because they could do the Hookman as the killer. He'd be kind of basic.
Yeah.
Give him a little bit of like a teleport kind of ability, similar
and
to
then you
Freddy.
get Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie, or like Freddie Prinze Jr. as the survivors.
You could do kind of similar to how they did Legion, where you have a male and female survivor, but you can swap between the different actors models from the movie.
Which is what they're going more towards that direction now, which will go into I think this chapter really pushes that forward.
Yeah, it does.
Because they tested it out with Steve, where Steve from Stranger Things, Steve Harrington, you can swap his skin right now for Jonathan Byers.
And there's also rumors that they're going to be doing a Robin skin for Nancy.
Yes, there are rumors. Apparently, the Robin right now does not fit the age requirement. I hear that's the rumor.
Okay.
I guess she's 17 in the show, and all the characters are over 18.
So they need the new season to come out because it's going to be like 2 years later.
I think that would be smarter anyway.
It would be. That way they don't get caught up in some kind of like legal litigation again.
Oh, not even that. Just from the marketing of like season 4 coming out, and here's content to release.
True.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how the launch for the game went. I'm assuming you played it on day one.
I did not get to play it on day one.
Okay.
I forget exactly what happened that day. I forget exactly. Oh no, I think I did.
You played it within the first few days. I remember you.
I did play within the first few days. I streamed it. Yes.
Yes.
Man, what a release.
I heard a
Uh,
lot of things about that release, like Nemesis unbalanced. The map was a mess.
The map I have not even touched yet.
I'd say it's still not even in the game yet, is it?
It's in the game for now in a custom match. You can play it in a custom match. It is not available for regular play.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'd like to say it was a positive mess. And what I mean is, I think the content is awesome. I think everything included is great, but the execution was awful. I don't think Behavior anticipated how big of a release this was.
Yeah.
Part of me feels it was like, I mean, bugs, so many bugs. There was beyond so much bugs. Frame drops. For the first time, my game was crashing.
Yeah, I heard about that as well. I heard a lot of people complaining about the game crashing because of how much extra stuff they added in, and they didn't account for the strain that it was going to take on things, especially with basically it's the biggest map. They said, who was it? I think Dowsey said that Raccoon City Police Department is almost double the size of the game.
Yes.
Which is the warehouse, which is 2 stories.
Right.
But they basically took the entire police department level from Resident Evil 2 remake and plopped it into Dead by Daylight and expected it to be hunky-dory.
Yep.
And I think it could have been a great idea. I think adding a bigger map would have been a great idea, but there needed to be some caveats with it. They needed to balance some of the other killers because that makes it almost impossible for some killers to even perform.
Well, it's already problematic because, one, it's an indoor map, and a lot of killers already don't want to have to deal with another indoor map. Most killers that I know do not enjoy playing indoor maps at all.
Right.
Especially, like, the game is a great example. The game, you know, safe palette after safe palette after safe palette.
Drops between floors.
Yep, the switch between floors. Yeah. And even then, like, with Midwich, it's frustrating, but it works because it's pretty much like a square, you know?
Yeah.
It's a 2-story square with a middle piece.
Well, there's also a lot of ways where you can cut somebody off in Midwich.
Yep, exactly.
So there's that. It's nice and balanced. Like, I think Midwich is the good example where you can have an indoor map, so it's mostly indoor with a little bit of courtyard that's outdoor, but the courtyard is very confusing. It's very puzzle-like.
Yeah.
I think things like the game and Hawkins and Leary's, they're such a confusing mess, and
yes,
Raccoon City Police Department just adds on to that. So it's another map that people are not going to want to play. It's going to become the new Hawkins, because
pretty much
any killer that doesn't have like extensive map control, like Nemesis or Doctor or even P-Head, like they're not going to perform well. I mean, imagine playing Nurse on RCPD. Like, it's impossible to do. You're never going to get a kill. You're never going to get a blink that's going to go well. I mean, yeah, you can teleport between rooms, but if you don't have the perks to support you looking through walls and things, then how are you going to perform?
Well, it's also the thing of, like, you're going to want to go one way, but then it's going to send you down another, because you might want to go straight. Because it happens to me and I rarely play Nurse for this reason alone. There's been times when I've been trying to go straight, but then it sends you into the basement. And that's going to happen a lot. And and granted, I haven't touched the map yet. I haven't played the map, so I don't have an official opinion on the map.
Right.
But I think that's probably part of the problem with this chapter. I feel the biggest downfall of this chapter, as awesome as the content is it's too much all at once. That, coupled with having to deal with a new player base, because now you're adding in Resident Evil fans joining in. That's gonna overload the servers.
Right.
And I think that, and granted, I mean, I'm sure it's very difficult to do coding and all that for console, because that's the other thing, is I play console. So I kind of got the brunt of it even more so, because unfortunately things are not as simple to deal with console, and patches and whatnot have made it a little bit easier, but PC is going to get more attention and get solved faster, because that's where the majority is, and that's understandable. You know, you gotta, so I'd say it was like a glorious mess where really cool content. The game did Dead by Daylight and Behavior did a great job integrating Resident Evil into the world of Dead by Daylight. It fits. But the execution of it was kind of poor. Like, I'm sure there are always going to be bugs with any release of any kind, but like it was overload. And
so do you think they should have like staggered the release of some things, like release the killer survivor pairing first, and then maybe do an event partway through where they release the map, because then they could see how the killer and survivors do on the regular maps, work out the bugs with them, and then introduce the map as an event.
Absolutely. I think that would actually be amazing. That's a great idea, because I think the other problem is, like, you know, already, and I speak from the console perspective, you know, the people that really only get to experience it are people who get to play the PTB and try it out, and not everybody has that access. So
it's like console players included. Like, you can only play PTB on PC, so if you don't have a PC, you don't even get to try anything. Right.
And that's that's frustrating, because and we'll get into it when we start talking about survivors and killers. But you know, I didn't even get to see the police department. So then it's kind of like you're stuck with what you get.
Yeah.
You know,
it's kind of unfortunate that they're giving the shaft to console players like that.
I mean, I don't know if it's giving. I don't feel they're actively giving the shaft. I'm sure in a perfect world they would have PTB on console.
Right. But that's hard. It's hard to do.
It's so hard to do. So I get it. It's one of those like radical. In therapy, we call it radical acceptance. You know, it is what it is. Just move on.
Right.
You know? Yeah. So
all right. So talk to me about playing the new survivors. How are Leon and Jill?
So Jill Valentine and Leon S. Kennedy. Those are the two newest survivors. I've played Jill more than Leon because I'm in the process of getting their perks up to snuff and like getting them teachables and whatnot.
Right.
And there's my lady. She just walked in through the door. Hello, Danny. Thank you for bringing me a veal parm sub. Oh my god, there was she did not want to get veal because she did not want to see a baby cow get killed, who she named Tubby.
Tubby?
She named it Tubby and sends me a picture of a baby cow. And she's like, I will not let you eat Tubby.
That's hysterical.
I know. I'm looking up the perks so that way I can have reference. So
Right. Because I don't have any experience playing Survivor. I play Survivor only when I actually play with you.
Yeah. You only
Survivor
play with me.
I only play Killer unless I'm playing custom matches because I get so frustrated in public matches with Survivor. I get so mad.
I know. And it's like, and you're in a tough spot too, because since you haven't played Survivor so much, you're usually like rank 20. So then you're going to play against rank 20 killers who unfortunately are newer to the game most likely. And so they don't understand how to play killer. So they use the very bare bone cheap tactics.
Yes.
You know, which
and
is super frustrating.
It's awful.
Yeah. So Jill is really cool. I've been playing with her perks the most, and they're actually really cool. I find them to be very helpful. So her 3 perks, the first one is Counter Force, where at its max, you cleanse totems 20% faster.
Okay.
And then you gain another stackable 20% cleansing speed bonus per cleansed totem. So if there's 5 totems in a match, you can cleanse totems super fast if you get all the totems. Okay. That's 100% bonus cleansing speed.
Right, okay.
And then when you cleanse the totem, when you finish it, the aura of the farthest totem is revealed to you for 4 seconds at max.
Okay.
So, this is a great perk for anybody who loves totems, who really wants to be able to find, if this coupled with like Detective's Hunch, this spells the end for hex totems.
Which is great because Noed is a hex.
Right. So like at the end of a mat, and that's the thing, is it also prevents Noed from potentially happening. It'll help you sniff out Ruin, Undying, Devour Hope.
I say a lot of the really problematic perks that people complain about are hexes.
Well, yeah, they complain about them because, the killer needs something like that, because how else are you going to counter like DS Unbreakable, Borrowed Time, Dead Hard, anything in the Survivor, it's
Survivor Kit has gotten very, very I don't want to say unbalanced, but the game is definitely favoring survivors a lot more lately.
Well, it makes sense though, because if you think about the ratio, it's 4-1.
Yeah, so you kind of need an advantage.
Yeah, and, I think behavior in the game tries to market the idea that the killer is the power in the game and the survivors are powerless, when it's the opposite. And I feel that's also just because, and I've been giving this a lot of thought, it's a horror game. If you go and watch a horror movie, the survivors in a horror movie are always presented as being powerless with limited resources.
Right.
So then the game does offer resources, but now you're taking all those resources and multiplying them times 4. So 1 decisive strike is not bad to go against. But 4 decisive strikes are a pain in the ass.
Right.
Same with like DS Unbreakable. That combo is like at least a 1-minute freebie,
Yeah.
And if you do that, if all the survivors have DS Unbreakable, that's 4 minutes of free time and like get out of jail free. And 4 minutes in a game is detrimental.
Absolutely. 4 minutes is like what, 3 gens? If you do them all, like it's almost the whole game.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have a couple people that are dedicated to just doing generators, like it basically ends the whole game. And that kind of reminds me, like it's giving me flashbacks to year 1 when I first played the game and I only played Survivor. And it was hard. Like it was so difficult because the killers had the same amount of power that they have now, but their survivors didn't have all these extra perks. Like Decisive Strike wasn't a thing yet. Borrowed Time wasn't a thing. Yeah. Unbreakable wasn't in the game. They were all just kind of base people with like, you could possibly sense some auras here and there. You could sniff out some totems sometimes. But like a lot of the really good perks that people rely on today were not in the game because there were no DLC survivors yet.
Exactly. And the fact that, and I mean, this is probably something they'll work on eventually. you know, each character, killer or survivor, comes with 3 perks. And there's almost like maybe one, if you know, if you have like, I don't know the full math, but I'm thinking like if there's over 20 killers and over 20 survivors, you know, that's 60 perks a piece. That's 120 perks in the game.
Yeah. Plus all the base
And
perks that aren't assigned to characters.
yes, all the base perks, exactly, like Spine Chill.
Yeah.
Or
Whispers.
Whispers, exactly.
Yep.
So going down the line, Dead by Daylight, which we can talk more about after reviewing the survivors, but like that that's something I think behavior needs to look at, because it's getting to the point where there's more perks that are useless and that are not being used now.
Right. So do you think they should start rotating perks out?
I really do believe that. I think they need to do a deep dive and maybe really take a good look at some of the perks and assess which ones need to be maybe phased out. Which ones do they need to maybe, I don't want to say buff, but they're going to have to just take a look-see, because I think it'd be maybe worth it to have maybe 1 perk per character, and that perk is a really well-balanced and thought-out perk. But it's hard because I feel the game has become too dependent. If there's an issue, there's a perk for that. Like, that's how I think they look at it.
Yeah.
Is, you know, oh, well, you get tunneled, there's a perk for that. They're doing gens too fast, there's a perk for that. You know,
the problem with that is like you never know what kind of character you're gonna go up against. So like, say in the case of like Jill Valentine, and you do a anti-totem build, and then you go up against Doctor, who has no totems.
Right.
It's all gen regression and gen oppression. So like they take infectious fright and thrilling tremors and monitor and abuse, and there's no totems to cleanse. So like what good does Jill's first perk do for you in that regard? So it's like you almost have a wasted perk slot, because there's so many perks and so many combinations.
Which, I mean, then again, you could also argue, oh, you can cleanse totems, and that's blood points, and like that does factor into your like pipping system, which that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the first perk. That's Counterforce.
Okay.
The second perk is Resurgence, where after you're unhooked, you instantly gain at max 50% your healing progress.
Okay.
Which I've been using that with her. It's actually really it's cool. And I mean, healing is healing in the game. You can always put a survivor back into injured state.
Right.
But I think I think that's cool. And it also can be cool as well, because it can help you maybe balance out med kits or whatnot.
Right.
But I think that's a pretty decent build right there.
That seems pretty good for a lot of survivors, actually.
Yes, I think that's a really good one. I don't think you'd ever see it. Maybe you would. It depends on the build. The last one is the big one, though. This is the one that you're going to see a lot of, and it's Blast Mine.
Okay.
So after repairing generators for a total of 66%, Blast Mine activates. And if you've repaired a generator for at least 3 seconds, you can press the ability button to install a trap, which will stay active for at max 45 seconds. The aura of the generator is revealed in yellow to all survivors. A generator can only be affected by 1 blast mine at a time. And what happens is this is like a super aggro perk. So a situation that this can be used is, say you're in injured state, say you're working on a gen, you put the blast mine in the gen. The killer comes, downs you, hooks you. They may try to use Pop Goes the Weasel on that perk. They hit it, and they go blind, because it's like it's a flashbang.
Okay, so it's kind of similar to Leon's perk, Flashbang.
Yes, which we'll get into his.
Which I've seen that one a lot.
Yep, I was using it today before stream, because I haven't played him as much as Jill, but that is but yeah, I'm seeing Blast Mine a lot as well.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it a lot.
It's definitely kind of a way for survivors to fight back against like really
Yep.
oppressive gen regression
Yeah.
builds.
So both survivors that came with this chapter, both of them come up with the flashbang and the blast mine. So they have the idea of crafting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is something this game is missing, is the idea of crafting.
Right.
Crafting, especially for like items, because you know when you play Survivor and you go through the blood web, you get so many items you don't use.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be cool if you could combine like 2 crappy med kits to make like a decent med kit, and like
That'd be nice.
yeah, and I like the idea, and I think this opens the idea of like maybe for killers they can craft certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like they can craft their own types of traps, or
Yeah.
like a basic trap, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Not like a trapper like bear trap, but like some sort of thing.
Yeah, something that fits their kit.
Yeah, something that fits their kit. Even if it's like something basic, like something that could prevent like pallets from getting pulled down,
Mm-hmm.
you know? That way, like if a survivor comes up on a pallet, they have to like work on it a bit, you know?
Yeah.
Just like as an extra thing to maybe even slow down gen progression, but who knows?
I mean, that'd be interesting. I'd also think it'd be interesting if you could like offer your items to the entity for like blood or for like a different type of currency, and you could buy like certain like you said traps or offerings that you'd want, or add-ons for different killers. So like say you want to sacrifice all of your like devout wreaths that you get that hardly anybody ever uses. Like they give you extra blood points, but you could basically sacrifice them back to the entity for blood points or for iridescent shards or something.
That would be cool.
I think that'd be neat to add, because I'm one of those people. I have so many different items and offerings that I will never use. Like I don't use map offerings ever.
No, I never do either. Because I really don't. I don't know. I don't like the idea. I like the idea of going into like a random map. I don't like the idea of choosing my map. If anything, I think that's kind of shoddy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that would be really cool. It'd be something that they could hopefully, you know, hear from us and
maybe
see what they have to say.
Yeah.
But, you know, yeah. So moving on to Leon's to give you an idea. Yep. So Leon, I just played him more today. I got Adept Leon today earlier.
Mm-hmm.
In his 3 perks, the first one is called Bite the Bullet, where when you heal, you make no noise, including grunts of pain. So this is while you're actively healing. And for example, like if you fail a healing skill check, it doesn't trigger the loud noise notification. And it only applies a regression penalty of 1% at max. That's
nice.
It's nice, but I don't really think it's necessary. I don't see high level survivors using this.
Now does that,
because there's Iron Will.
I say, does it counteract Nurse's Calling?
I don't think it does.
Okay, so even if people are running Nurse's Calling, they're still gonna be able to see that you're healing.
Exactly.
They just won't hear you. Okay. So yeah, it is kind of poopy at that point.
Yeah, well, it's I mean, you already have Iron Will.
Yeah.
You have Iron Will, and if you're a survivor worth your salt, I mean, everybody misses a skill check, but you should not be missing skill checks. Like,
right.
For low-level survivors, for people who are newer to the game, it's kind of like Technician.
Mm-hmm.
I think, where it kind of like helps you get accustomed to hitting skill checks.
Yeah.
Like to me, it would be like skill check training wheels.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, you know, Rookie Spirit is another one. This is actually a really cool one. I didn't think I was going to like this, and I liked it a lot. While you're repairing a generator, all you have to do is at max complete 3 good or great skill checks. And this will activate Rookie Spirit. And when it's active, the auras of any regressing generators are revealed to you.
Oh, okay.
So this is helpful if you're like a gen jockey, you know,
right.
And if you're on a Swift where one person could have this and can be able to pick up generators that are regressing. So,
Mm-hmm.
you could be nearby and a survivor's working on a gen, a killer comes over, chases the survivor off a gen, Ruin starts working if most likely they have Ruin.
Mm-hmm.
So then you'll see the aura and it's like a white aura that shows up. And then you can go to that gen and start working on it and pick up where they left off.
Right. That is a good that's a good strategy to have, especially if you are in a Swift. Like you can have one person dedicated to like picking up because things like Ruin and Pop Goes the Weasel, they're all so prevalent in among killer mains. Like everyone likes to use them at least at some point.
Yep. I mean, I admit I use both. I mean, my Ghostface build, for an example, is usually barbecue, Ruin, Pop, and I'm all ears.
Yeah.
So,
that'll do it for you.
Yep, and I only really use I'm all ears because I like using that on Ghostface. But with most of my killers, I use barbecue and Ruin at minimum. So Ruin, and that's the thing. And so also, and you have to think about that in tandem with counter force.
Yeah.
Someone can have counter like a lot. So with that, and because we'll go into the last perk before I give like my overall thoughts about what these perks are. I'll save that. The last one is Flashbang. This is the big one. This is what you're going to see a lot of survivors using now.
Yep. It's essentially a faster version of those firecrackers they released like a year and a half ago.
Yes, it is pretty much a make it yourself firecracker.
Yep.
And the firecrackers really only come around during Lunar New Year event. So what you do is once you repair a generator at max 50%, you can do flashbang, it activates. And what you can do is you can go in a locker. You can't have any items with you though. But you can go in a locker and you can craft it. You hit the ability button, and then you're carrying a flash grenade. And I mean, these babies, I've been coming into them as killer. I mean, people will drop them while I'm chasing them. People will drop them when I'm picking somebody up. People will drop, they're getting dropped left and right.
They're about as bad as flashlights because it interrupts anything that you're doing.
Exactly. And the thing with this perk that I kind of don't like is you can keep reusing this over and over in a match. So like I was able to craft 2 flashbangs in a match.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bit too much personally.
Shoot, I ran into somebody who had 4.
Yeah, see?
I was chasing the same survivor and they hit me with 4 flashbangs and I was like, okay, what is this? I had no idea what it was when I was playing it because I was like, I know I'm not getting flashlighted. They're the only person here, but all of a sudden I'm blind. Like, what happened? And then I realized I had flashbang and I was like, oh, okay. It's one of those kind of perks where you're going to see it a lot because it's OP. Like, if you think about it.
It's super, oh my god, it's beyond OP. It's like, it's head-on combined with DS combined with a flashlight.
Right. It's all the things that you hate as killer mains.
Exactly. And, I think, because head-on to me is like, it's a purely aggressive perk. The only reason you would use it, and the only reason I see people using it is like, a Swift wants to be like, hey, let's just stun the killer. So they'll run in front of the locker. They'll tell their friend to get in the locker. They'll run in front of the locker, and then someone pops out of the locker.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, flashbang does have defensive purposes. So it's not, you're gonna definitely have survivors use this in like a really jerk way of like, I want to just piss off the killer, which like, technically is a strategy, because you get in the killer's head and you're pissing them off.
Yep, for sure.
But I think the best way that I try to use it and what I was trying to do is see if like I can kind of blind the killer enough to maybe unhook a friend or get them to drop somebody, something like that.
Okay.
So that's what I try to do.
So in your opinion with the survivors, is it, I mean, from what I gather, it seems like they each got 1 good perk and 2, they got 1 good perk, 1 okay perk, and 1 crappy perk.
Usually that's what happens. I wouldn't say they got any crappy perks, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think out of all the survivors that have been released, they have a pretty decent, solid perk set.
Okay.
You know, at first I thought some of them were going to be weak, but playing with a couple, they work pretty well. Like, I'll say this, Counterforce out of the Jill perks, to me, that's the weakest because, you know, it doesn't detect you to the first totem. You still have to find a totem.
Yeah.
And if you're getting chased, and I mean, your first objective should not be finding totems. It should be doing a gen.
Exactly.
You know, that should not, unless you're on a team and you're all prepared and one guy's like, okay, I'm the totem guy, you know?
Yeah.
So, but usually that wouldn't happen. So otherwise, like the flashbang, it's a conditional perk. But I mean, the flashbang and the blast mine, I confuse the names. Flashbangs and blast mines are conditional. I feel the flashbang you're going to see more than the blast mine because the blast mine requires you to really plan it out.
Yeah.
You know?
You really have to like lead the killer to that generator.
Yes. And I wouldn't, and I personally am not a survivor player that's going to try to lead the killer anywhere.
Right.
Unless it's like to a zone that's far away. I would try to lead them far away from gens, not close to gens, you know, because otherwise, like this happens to me also. I've been hit with the blast mine. I can still use pop.
Oh.
You know?
So it only slows you down for like a little bit.
It slows you down to the point where like you could maybe hook somebody on a hook. The gen is right there. You hit the gen. There's the blow up. Someone can sneak behind you, unhook the person.
Okay. So not a huge setback. It's more so like if somebody blinds you with a flashlight.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. That's not too bad.
No. So I feel these perks specifically are very good at, I think they're designed also for more like camaraderie and Swift. I think.
Yeah.
Like you can plan.
Which I think if they're leaning a lot towards Swift and maybe some custom games.
Yes.
I know a lot of people lean more towards Swift because they want the blood points and they want to put those points towards killers or survivors. So a lot of people don't play custom games. But I think they're kind of trying to entice people more to want to play customs with perks that could be fun, not so much competitive, but fun with like amongst friends.
Exactly, which then that leads into the conversation, which we'll get into after, of like, you know, the reality that I don't think people want to do that. That's just not what this game is now. Sadly, is I don't think people want to play customs. I don't think people want to have. Some people want to have fun.
Yeah.
But that leads to a fundamental issue that I think the game just did not, like that behavior did not think of, creating a game like this where, you know, you already created an us versus them game. So now people are going to adapt an us versus them mentality. And so, you know, because that's the other thing is like, I don't, you know, it's not like a custom game is like, it works in like Overwatch, but it doesn't work here, you know? And even Overwatch has quick play.
Yeah. Honestly, the issue is it's like, it's custom games are only fun if you're all there to have fun. And I mean, I love custom games. Like I have the most fun. I have the most fun in custom games because it's like, it's me messing with my friends. We're all kind of just joking around, having a good time. People basically have that understanding like, okay, we're not going to be sweaty. We're not going to be toxic. We're not going to be bringing mores. We're not doing stupid combos. We're just going to have fun, chase each other around and kill each other. I mean, that's how I came into the game.
Right.
I feel like there's no distinction between playing the game for fun and playing the game competitively.
There is no distinction. I think that's the biggest problem this game has. There's no distinction between fun and competitive because, you know, there's only one mode and it's strictly competitive. Which I know, like, I'm sure, you know, for all the high-end content DVD creators that are watching this podcast, they'll be like, but it is fun. It's not competitive. It's not like esports, but it's like you're
It's easy to
still
say that when you're rank 1 and you have everybody prestige 3 times. Like,
yeah.
for people who play it
But-
casually, it's like, I want to go in as my rank 14 doctor that's barely level 50,
right,
and have fun, but I'm against a full Swift team of triple prestige survivors that have all the best perks and extreme flashlights and things like that.
Yeah, because I've watched videos of people being like, it's not a competitive game, it's not competitive esports. It's like, but it's still competitive because it's a team game, you know?
Yeah.
It's team killer versus team survivor. And and I think, and it goes into, like I said, it's just the fundamental thing of like, people want to win their horror movie. Like, this is something that's deeply ingrained in all of us, especially people who love horror movies.
Yeah.
I've done this, you have done this. Would you and I survive a horror film?
Absolutely.
And this game is the closest you can get to that.
True.
Without actually getting into a horror film.
Right. Exactly.
Like, the next step would be like releasing a serial killer from the prison and throwing yourself in the woods with them.
Just call Rikers like, hey, can I rent one of your like most dangerous killers for a weekend? I want to see if I'll survive their rampage.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yep, we're gonna can we rent them? We're just gonna like go into this abandoned warehouse and like, you know, I'll have like a first aid kit, you know, because but like it's that, like I said, I think that's the thing. And some of these perks, I think, will present a bit more aggro. But I also think they're genuinely good perks. I think they're great for casuals, and I think they're great for competitive people. So these 3 perks are all 6 of them, because it's 2 survivors, are very good overall, in my opinion.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Nemesis, the new killer. I heard a lot of complaints about him when he first dropped. Everyone said he was very underpowered.
It's, you know what? It's a yes and a no. He is very much in the middle, in my opinion.
Really?
Yes, I enjoy playing as him. Today I've been getting some merciless matches. And for disclosure, I'm usually a rank 4. That's usually where I'm at average. Last season I got to 3 at max.
Okay.
But right now I am a 6 or a 5, just because it's tougher now. You know, and MMR is MMR.
Yeah.
You know.
Rank reset always presents that kind of a problem too. When you only have a month to climb from rank 20 up, and you're not usually that high, it's hard to do. So
it is, right. And I mean, it's only going to get harder depending on, I mean, then again, we don't know what the new ranking system will be like, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
But anyways, Nemesis, my opinion of him is I think he's an above average killer. His power takes some getting used to. So for the unindoctrinated, Nemesis pretty much operates like this. He has a whip pretty much on his left hand. It's a tentacle. So insert your anime jokes there. And what he does, his power is as follows. He hits a survivor once with the tentacle. It infects the survivor, and it goes into, it like adds power into his tier. He's like a hybrid of many different killers in that sense. So he's kind of a hybrid of Plague, where he can infect survivors. Huntress, because of kind of how his whip operates.
Okay, I can see that.
Yep. I think he's a mix a little bit of Trapper, in the sense of you can direct people into certain dangerous areas, because this is also the first killer with AI capability, because you get 2 zombies in a match.
Yes. Which you can lead survivors into or kill yourself to upgrade your power.
Exactly. Yes. And dude, I have had some good instances where a zombie has downed somebody because people were not paying attention, and it's chef's kiss perfect. It's beyond perfect.
He's also kind of a mix of Myers and Doc as well, because they have
Yep.
those tiered kind of things where
Yes.
Myers' tiers upgrade himself, Doc's tiers upgrade like effects on the survivors.
Yes. So Nemesis's tiers affect himself. So tier 1, nothing really there. Tier 2, he can break pallets with the whip and doors. So he can break pallets and doors with the whip at tier 2. And then at tier 3, it adds on length. So the length of the whip goes longer.
Yes.
So, and the way you do that, like I said, you can infect survivors or you can kill zombies with your whip. Once a survivor's infected, that's when you can use the whip to inflict damage.
Yeah, you have to infect the survivor first, and then you can do damage.
Right. And part of when you play Nemesis is, you get the 2 zombies, like I said. There's also 4 extra crates that contain a vaccine for the infection. And there's only 4. It's a limited supply. So survivors, if they're infected, they can find the vaccine, give themselves the vaccine. When they do that, the sort of like killer instinct pops up. So like it's like Legion, where when Legion hits somebody with feral frenzy, the killer instinct pops up.
Yeah.
So that is a advantage. He has a lot in his toolkit, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was. I played him on the PTB a little bit. He seemed like a lot of fun. I felt like he could use a little bit of balancing, but that may have also just been my inexperience playing him.
Yeah.
Like you said, it felt like it was too much, kind of jumbled into one.
Yeah, I feel he's a hybrid of a lot of different killers. I think he has a lot for different killers to enjoy.
Yes.
I definitely want to get better at him. I think the other thing is like, this is also the first killer in a while that people are excited to play.
Yeah.
So I think there's more motivation to study him and get better at him because people no one wants to be good as twins.
No, I don't think anyone even wants to play twins, honestly.
I mean, I only played twins today because someone redeemed that I do a twins game. I do an adept twins, and I got brutal at best because someone DC'd, and because it was adept, I had no map control.
Right.
But I hate twins. But anyways, like people love Nemesis though. It's like Pyramid Head. People love Pyramid Head and they want to get good as Pyramid Head.
Right.
And it's like the same. And so as far as balancing, I don't really know what else he needs. I think the only big thing that they wanted was like to maybe balance out his add-ons. He seems to be very add-on dependent.
Yeah.
So,
he's the first killer in a long time that's very add-on dependent. The only other one that I know of is really Pig.
Freddy was add-on dependent for a while.
But then they reworked him, and he's not.
And they reworked him, so now he's not. No.
So maybe they'll eventually do some tweaks to Nemesis.
If they can do it so that you get more value out of hitting a survivor with a whip.
Yeah.
And then maybe do something different with the perks, I think that would be great. I think also they need to rework what hitting so you pretty much have to hit a survivor 3 times to get them down with him.
If you're using the whip.
If you're using the whip, yes. So you hit a survivor once with the whip, they're only infected now. Then you hit the survivor and then they get the hit burst. You know what I'm talking about? So you hit a survivor, they get that little burst of speed to give them distance. You keep chasing them. Hit them with the whip again. They get another burst of speed. Hit them again. They go down. Gen is done.
I'd say Gen's probably done before even the second hit happens, honestly.
Yes, that's the problem I run into.
Especially with a good survivor that can make a chase last long enough.
Yep, that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I don't know. Hopefully they fix him in the future, and hopefully they fix the issues with the map as well.
Yeah, because I haven't even gotten to play him on the map.
I haven't gotten to play the map either. It was very busted when I got into the PTB.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even request the map be a thing.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yep. So going into his perks, he has 3. So the first one is Lethal Pursuer.
Mm-hmm.
At the start of the trial, you can see the auras of all survivors for a max of 9 seconds.
That's kind of huge.
It's super huge. I really like it. I think this is going to be on a lot of killers, especially new killers who are learning where survivors spawn.
Yeah.
You're going to see this on a lot of stalking killers. So
Yes.
you're going to see this on Michael Myers. You're going to see this on Ghostface. You're going to see this maybe on, I mean, you could Doctor even. So Doctor knows where to go.
Doctor,
any killer. Trapper, yes, to know where to put traps to start that. Hag, so you can know where to put your traps.
I think the killer that's going to benefit the most from it, honestly, is going to be Nurse.
Yep.
Imagine getting an early yoink 9 seconds into the game off of a gen from like a Hail Mary blink.
Right.
It's not even a Hail Mary because you can see where they're at.
Exactly. And like that's intense.
Yeah.
But and I mean I've been using it mainly only on Nemesis. And I like it a bit, but then that's only 9 seconds of use on a perk. So like that's the trade-off. So you're kind of foregoing everything else. Also, like a great killer knows where survivors spawn.
Yeah.
So you will not see this on a red rank killer.
So it's another training wheels perk.
Yes, I consider it a training wheel perk. I think it's a training wheel perk for most, but then I also feel like on Nurse or on Myers or someone that needs that early game, this would be good.
Yeah.
Yep. The next one is Hysteria. Whenever you put a healthy survivor into the injured state, all injured survivors suffer from Oblivious for 30 seconds. Which, I don't really see any need to use this.
No.
I don't. Yeah, this is to me is the weakest perk that was released with everything. Because it's like, and I'll get into it because it leads into Eruption. Eruption is also a really cool perk. So, the way this works is after you kick a generator, it's highlighted in yellow. When you put a survivor into dying state, every generator that you've kicked that like with this perk on explodes and starts regressing.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And it's a 6% progression penalty.
Wow.
And any survivor who's repairing a generator when it's explode will scream and suffer from incapacitated effect for 16 seconds max.
That's kind of crazy.
It's super crazy. I've seen people doing this in different videos. But the downside is it requires so much more strategy and planning.
Yeah.
And I think this is a perk where the devs are like, hey, like, let's have people rethink how to play killer and like get even more strategic.
Yeah.
But people like that requires too much time that you're not going to waste as killer.
Right.
To go around and kick like 2 or 3 generators to make this work.
I mean, it's really good on people who are very like generator oppressive, like Demogorgon, Doctor.
Yeah.
Kind of Ghostface. Clown.
Right.
Clown would be good on Clown.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I could see myself using it as Doctor because I'm consistently, I'm like not even checking other things. I'm just going from gen to gen, doing my shocks and gaining up my madness. And like, imagine like I get somebody's madness level up, I kick a gen with Eruption, and then I move on. Like I don't stick around that generator, and then I do the same thing. I keep moving. I keep chasing a survivor, up the madness on somebody else, kick that gen. So now I have 2 gens from like 1 chase.
Exactly. But that's the other thing is like you don't want to be, because kicking a generator is time spent that you could be chasing that survivor instead.
Right.
So like that's your trade-off, you know. Yeah. Like my rule of thumb when I play killer is like I usually use Pop Goes the Weasel. I'll really only kick a gen if it's right after a hook and I'm right there, and you plan out which gen you're gonna pop. You know, with Eruption, I think it's cool to use. Like I can see people using this with a build of like Oppression, Eruption, Pop, and Overcharge for fun.
Yeah.
You know, like this would be a good custom build.
I don't know. I think
But-
I think I would rotate that in as a perk
Yeah.
with Doctor. The way I play Doc, it's like I said, I'm constantly moving from gen to gen. Basically,
Yeah.
my idea is that if the survivors can't stay on the gens long enough, they're not going to get them done. So if they're scared to touch a generator, then like they're going to be running for me, which means I can down them and I can kill them.
No, I mean, that actually is a very valid way to play. So
Yeah.
if you can make it work, that's awesome.
Yeah.
The way I am is I try to get someone down very quick, and I try to really group them all to be working like I also have them try to get like certain generators done, so then I can eventually 3-gen. I set up a 3-gen.
Yeah.
So because that's what happened today when I was playing Doctors, I set up a 3-gen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they were able to do that. But anyways, like these are 2 out of 3 of these perks are great.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So overall though, I think the biggest problem unfortunately was just because of performance issues. So because of how the chapter was released, and I feel bad with that. But I thought it was but I think he's really, really good. I think he's fun. I think he is definitely easier to pick up than other killers. You know, but he's challenging in his own right.
Now, do you think that he'll see more play in the future as things kind of die down?
That's a good question. I think he'll probably end up becoming maybe like a B tier killer.
Okay.
I think he has enough differences that will make him entertaining to play as. Like the zombies are fun.
Yeah.
I think the whip is really cool. But I do feel that people are always going to turn to Nurse and Spirit as the top 2. You know, people like Blight, Billy, you know, people who are fast. People
everybody, I
yeah.
feel like everybody kind of like puts themselves into like a niche of a type of killer that they go towards.
Yep,
like
I
me,
agree.
I'm more of I want to roam around. I want to be oppressive. I want to consistently keep moving. So I play people like Demogorgon and Doctor. So I'm gen oppressive and I'm map controlling. And then there are people who are like brute force. They play things like Trapper, Huntress, etc. The map control people like Trapper and Hag. Then you've got Stalker killers where they want to play Myers, Pig, Ghostface. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think people kind of fall into their niche of a type of killer that they like to play.
Yeah. Which I don't even know what I like. I mean, Freddy is my main. I like Freddy because I think his kit is just super interesting. Because I like teleporting.
Right.
Because I like getting into a chase immediately. So
while we're on this topic, who are your top 3 most played killers?
Freddy, Doctor, Ghostface.
Okay. So I could safely say that you're more of a map control type killer player. Because like you said, you try to force the 3-gen as much as possible.
Yep. And I like killers that also like can apply pressure very much. Doctor I love. Well, I mean, Doctor I love because I'm a therapist. So like,
yeah, that makes sense.
But I love the idea of shocking people.
Yeah.
Like you know, I like that idea. With Freddy, I like teleporting and getting to the people quicker and faster. With Ghostface, I like being undetectable so that I can yoink people. Or like there are times I think, you know, I've gotten so much better over a year in using the stock. And I prefer his over Mike because I wanted to play Myers, but his early game is just piss poor and it just destroys him.
You really have to have like a perfect start and like the perfect setup in order to be good with Myers now.
Right, but that's why I think Lethal Pursuer would be perfect for him. If you had Corrupt Intervention, Lethal Pursuer, like Pop and Monitor, maybe, that would be very good.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So overall, I'd say Legion will probably end up being in the B tier. I can see a lot of people getting mileage out of him. I think the fact that he's Resident Evil will have people playing him more frequently anyway.
Right, sort of like how Pyramid Head was when he first came out.
Exactly.
A lot of people played him because it was Silent Hill.
Yep, and granted, I think Pyramid Head died down a lot. but I think that Nemesis has more. There's more out of his kit that you can play around with.
Yeah.
I don't, but then I think he also does have some balancing issues, and some of them, like I said, I don't think that when you whip somebody and it just only infects them, it should give them a speed boost. I do not see that happening.
Yeah.
He is very add-on dependent, but it is what it is. So they'll probably change him eventually.
Yeah, I think give it a couple months. I think by the end of the year they'll be changing
Right.
things around a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Speaking of that, what kind of content do you want to see? Like what features would you like to see them add? I know you mentioned a crafting system that you'd want to see them add.
Yeah. Crafting system is the top one for me. I think that would add a really cool layer onto the game, and I think it would make it more varied. There's a couple ideas that I've heard from different videos. Mainly, like, I want to see. I think they need to kind of just like get back to the bones of the game and like maybe reevaluate like the ground. The way that I think about it is like Dead by Daylight, like any video game, is a house and there's a structure. And if the structure and the groundwork is not stable, you could add whatever you want. It's still gonna have shoddy structure, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like the devs need to kind of maybe re-examine the game and update it for where it's at now compared to where it was when it started.
Right. I mean, 5 years, you think they've learned a lot in those 5 years, but
Right.
they kind of keep pumping out the same stuff almost.
Yeah. Well, it's like one of those things where like I'm sure with them it's like, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But then you know, if it is, but then you have smaller content creators and people who play the game saying it's broke. Then you have like the moderate content creators who are saying it's broke, but they do it in maybe a crass way that's not receptive to people. You know, and then you have the fog whisperers, and the fog whisperers are going to praise the game because they're just thankful they're a fog whisperer.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's nothing against fog whisperers. I think they're great. But I mean, I would probably feel the same. I'm sure there's no pressure put on them either.
Right.
I'm sure Matthew Cote is not staring down at them being like, you need to say something nice about the game. I'm sure it's like that pressure of like, oh my God.
That was a solid impression.
I think we did a pretty good job so far. I love his accent. I don't know where he's from, but I love his accent.
That's
like,
good.
I know. I need to look up where he's from. I just want to know now. I'm just gonna. Where is he from? But anyways, while I do that, I think if they reworked solo queue, that would be cool. If they could add like a shorthand method. So, for example, like if you played Overwatch, you know, you can send like need healing or group up.
Yeah.
And I feel that's lacking in solo queue. If you could do something like I'm on a gen or I'm gonna save the person.
Not just a little point and a wave over here that you have.
Yes.
Give you like an emote wheel that can like say things like working on gen, need help here, etc.
Yes, an emote wheel would be. That's exactly what that's the word I couldn't think of it.
So I have this crazy idea for like how they could add in something to the game, and it kind of coincides with like a killer survivor pairing that I want to see. I think after they figure out the legal stuff with Jason.
Yes.
I think they should do a big event where they release a new game mode where it's sort of like a big team map where they could utilize these bigger maps like Leary's, the game, Raccoon City Police Department. You actually have 8 survivors, 2 killers, and it's kind of set up like a Freddy versus Jason style thing.
Ooh.
Where the killers can actually go against each other if they choose to, or they can team up and kill the survivors.
That's really cool. And you know, to add on to that, what if it was like almost like a competition of who can kill more? Right.
So like you could potentially be like, so say as an example, say you go in as Freddy, I go in as Doctor.
Yeah.
You could be super gen, or I could be super gen focused, but you're going around actually like killing people.
Mm-hmm.
And it would kind of play off of that. I mean, they would have to figure out a way to incorporate like different people's powers, because I mean, you have Freddy's Dream World, where it's like, could the doctor see the survivors if they're in the dream world, or only if they're woken up?
Yeah, and if you shock a survivor, does it wake them out of the dream world?
That would be interesting. I would like to see that.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take a lot for them to figure out what the interactions were, but I think if they did that, or if they incorporated that as sort of like a pseudo sequel to the game, I think it would refresh a lot of player base.
I think so too. The only thing that I think of in the back of my head, though, is I can already hear a million different survivor mains crying over that. I can too.
I can also hear a bunch of killer mains crying over that too, because I mean, that's 8 people who could potentially have decisive strike.
That's 8 DS borrowed. That's 8 DS unbreakables. That's true. That's a good point.
8 possible flashlights, 8 possible flashbang holders.
Yeah. That's so true.
And it would create sort of like an unpredictability about the game. Like, imagine, like, as a survivor, you're like, okay, I got to do these gens. Are the killers going to be fighting each other, or are they going to be coming after us? Has the one killer already killed everybody else? Like, what's going on?
No, that's a really good point, actually. That's a really good point. I like that.
I think it'd be very interesting on maps like Raccoon City. I mean, imagine, like, you have 2 killers that spawn on opposite ends of the map. Survivors spawn anywhere in the map. Do the killers go straight after each other to try and kill one another so they have 8 potential victims? Or do they, like, basically signal each other, like, I'm going to go after 4, you go after 4, and then we'll see who wins?
Yeah.
Like, it would be... I think it would be very fun. And
I can see the potential in that. And you know what? It also opens up the idea of a team. And I think that's I think that's the biggest divide in Dead by Daylight. Like, I mean, we alluded to this earlier in the podcast, where I think the biggest problem with the game is it does promote at base level an us versus them mentality. And the fact that you can choose if you're a killer or survivor also promotes that, because you're actively making a choice of where you stand. Because I've been giving this so much thought. The only other game I can compare this to is Friday the 13th, obviously, asymmetrical horror. You don't choose if you're a counselor or Jason. You don't choose. It's chosen for you.
Yeah, you pick
9 times out of 10, you're a counselor.
Yeah, you basically go in and say what your preference is. So, like, I could go in and say that I prefer to be Jason, but there could be 8 other people in the lobby that prefer to be Jason, and it's random. It's
still random.
Yeah.
I don't even think the preference thing even matters. You're still gonna just get survive. It's just because, like, counselor. It's counselor, not survivor over there.
Yeah.
And then also, I mean, there's juking, and then there's everything like that. But once Jason kills you once, you're done. And I think that's also, and also there's no ranking system. And I think that's the other thing, is there's no ranking system. So with rank, there's no concern of, like, if you lose, does it matter?
Right. Honestly,
like,
I feel like they need to add a quick play system to where you can still earn blood points, but you don't have to worry about your rank.
Right. Or even, like, I was thinking about it today, you could go in. Oh, no, because then that doesn't. I was going to say, if someone DCs, could you bring somebody else into the game? But then that kind of screws with their hook system. So you couldn't do that.
Right.
Right. Because that's the other thing I was thinking. Or no, because what people want to do is, like, AI, add, like, an AI sim if somebody DCs, or if somebody is AFK. They've been talking about that, where you can, and now they can do it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it happen.
So sort of basically make the person who disconnected or who's AFK an NPC.
Yep. Right. Because actually, one update about this thing that we didn't even talk about, that I think is really worth talking about, is they really updated the tutorial mode.
Yeah.
The tutorial mode is much more advanced, and it's much more comprehensive, and I think it does a much better job indoctrinating new players. You get 200,000 blood points just from playing the modes. Yeah, so I highly recommend doing it just to get a free 200,000 blood points.
I'm going to be doing that later.
Yep, that's how I got Nemesis up so fast.
Yeah.
And they have AI. You can chase survivors in it. You can run from a killer in it. And you know they're not gonna juke the shit out of you. Oh, sorry, the crap out of you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can swear here.
You can lightly swear.
Okay, then I apologize for that one swear.
No
but
worries.
that's something to consider is like you could have the AI sub in if someone DCs.
Mm-hmm.
That would I guess would be the other thing I would add is that and then one last thing is someone I watched the video brought up the idea of you know gens getting done would be slower, but you could make it faster if you find parts around the map.
Okay.
So like you could so you could try to find like different parts to make it go faster.
Sort of like you could find like a crankshaft and it would like wind up the generator more.
Yes, exactly. Otherwise it would be a slower rate.
Okay.
That way it gives like something to do because I think it is also kind of busted that, you know, the way that spawns work nowadays, you can have 3 people spawn right by a gen and then you have one solo person and if that solo person is really good at the chase, there goes the gen super quick.
Yep.
So I think those are like the updates I would want to see.
Those are all really solid updates. Last topic I definitely want to cover is if you had to pick one killer survivor pairing that you want to see, if whether it be something original that you created or a franchise killer.
Okay. I already know. So I'll start with created first. The type of killer I would love to see is like a horror, like a classic movie monster type, werewolf, a Dracula, like a vampire. A Frankenstein monster. I want to see something like that.
Okay.
You know, it'd be cool to see a flying killer. That would be cool, but I don't know how you would make that work. The only way I can see a flying killer work is like maybe it has a lunge attack like Demogorgon or like Spear or what's it called? Nurse. That would be for an original killer idea.
You can honestly make it to where like their power is that they fly, but in order to attack a survivor, they have to land, and it's sort of like a delay, like when you vault.
Yeah.
So like you could land directly near a survivor, but they basically have like a second or two to get away before you start chasing them.
Right. Exactly.
So I mean, they could do it that way.
They could. They would have to kind of reevaluate how to work the map though, because like to go above ground.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I mean, I always joke around that I would love to see like a pirate ghost killer. That would be cool. It would just be fun. It'd be fun. He can have the same build as Clown. Like imagine, or you know what? Let's give Clown a pirate skin. Let's just give him a pirate.
Just do that.
Skin.
Yeah, give him a peg leg and a big hat.
Right. Exactly. Because he already has the belly. It'd be fun. Yeah. As far as licensed content, I know exactly what I would want. I would want a xenomorph. I want an alien. I want an alien chapter. I want the xenomorph. I want Ellen Ripley as a survivor, and I want the Nostromo as a map.
It'd be good.
Because also, like, we need a space. That would be the other thing is we need a space or like science fiction alien themed. Like Demogorgon is the closest we got, and I think we need maybe more of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think diving into like the sci-fi horror, because it's actually funny. My pick for a licensed killer is kind of similar, only it coincides with what I would do for a create your own killer.
Okay.
Whereas a create your own killer, I want a killer like a possession type killer.
Yes, you've mentioned this. You've mentioned this many times.
So I mentioned I want to see like sort of like a body snatcher type deal.
Yeah.
My idea for a franchise killer is John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, that would be so hard to do though.
It would be hard to do.
That's such a good one, but it's so hard to do.
It would be hard to do, but I mean, imagine things, because it would kind of counteract what all high-ranking survivors are doing now. So imagine you're doing a gen.
Yes.
you don't realize that the person beside you is actually the killer. But you activate Blast Mine. And then as soon as you activate Blast Mine, the gen blows up and it reveals that this is the monster. And now you have to stay in your monster state for X amount of time. And you have to chase the survivors. Like you can't attack survivors as you're impersonating them. But you can reveal yourself, or they can pop you out of it. Like, say, if you get stunned by a flashlight, you lose focus, you're no longer a survivor. You're your monster form. There's only
one big counteraction to that, and that's voice comms.
Yeah.
That's like the big, because I love that idea.
Yeah.
But like someone could be like, I'm not at the gen, I'm over here. Which like that adds like cool, like that's such a horror thing.
Yeah,
right?
it's
The
such a
killer's
horror
in the
movie.
house.
Yeah, it's like have you checked the children kind of deal. It's like,
yes,
or you're like, oh, like I'm working with you. It's like, hey, Emack, let's get this gen done. It's like, you're not on the same gen I am.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not, and then all of a sudden you're getting attacked by the killer. Like,
I know,
and that's the thing. It's like the only thing the survivor can do is run away.
True, that is true.
So it's not like the survivor can get up and just smack the killer and knock him down and end the game. Right. They'd have to use something like a firecracker or a flashlight or something to reveal that that's the killer. I know,
that would be cool. That would be cool.
It would add a lot. I think it would add a very scary element to the game.
Because then the only other thing is, like, how does the killer itself, like, can the killer attack when it's in that form? Like, that's what I would wonder.
I would say that it can't attack while it's a survivor. It can only do survivor actions, but you can reactivate your power to transform back into monster mode with like that slight delay. So sort of like how, if you remember watching The Thing, where they do like the defibrillator and the chest expands to prevent it from being revealed. You can reveal, causing so say you reactivate your power, revealing yourself as the monster, and it causes all survivors within a certain radius of you to scream.
Right.
They get that little speed boost from like being attacked if they're too close or something, and you're in your monster form when you start chasing. I think it'd be it would be hard to balance for sure, but I think it'd be super interesting.
It'd be wicked interesting, and I think that's something that's been missing. Missed opportunities left and right with Legion. That was like the biggest missed opportunity.
For sure.
Because that was what was marketed, and you didn't get that.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool, though. I think, and I mean, it would be different, and I think that's ultimately what this chapter has been all about. It's different. It offers different things, and I think it's what the community needed was something different. Because Trickster was not different. Twins was a little different, but
I think it was too different.
It was too different. It just doesn't work for some reason. It doesn't work.
Really doesn't. But going off of the whole thing, like, give me the Thing chapter, and you have the commander as your survivor.
Yep.
And then the Arctic base which would be another
cool base.
Yeah. It'd be kind of like Hawkins with a little bit of that cold element in there.
Yep.
They could do winter skins to match it. I mean, the content there is endless.
Right. And that's the same with like Nostromo and the Alien chapter, is like get them space suits.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to see Dwight in a spacesuit. Or even you can get different characters from the Alien franchise. So, but
oh no, I mean, if they did a skin for Dwight in the Alien chapter, it would be Dwalian.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Dwalian, that would be so cute.
They'd give him like green skin with little like tiny antennas and black.
Yeah, that would be cute.
It'd be adorable.
That'd be super cute. Oh man, fucking. Sorry, I just slowly swore.
You're fine.
That was a bad one. Yeah. But ultimately, like, you know, the likelihood of Alien happening, no, because of Disney. Disney would probably not sign off on being involved with Dead by Daylight. Unfortunately, even though there's Alien Isolation. But I think that's like the most that they can do. And then, I don't know who owns the Thing, though. That's a really good question.
I believe I think John Carpenter himself owns it. And honestly, I think the licensing for Alien is still with Sega.
Really?
The gaming license for Alien is
Gaming
Sega.
license. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so I mean,
So
I think
Universal put out The Thing.
okay, so then they're gonna be really loose about those rights.
Yeah, because I don't know
So
who
it's
owns
definitely
the right.
it's definitely a possibility if the devs are up for the challenge.
If they're up to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Universal, because Universal Pictures put out The Thing and the remake of The Thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I mean, another really cool, I mean, Candyman, I'm sure is inevitable at this point.
Yeah. The bees.
Yep, the bees. Oh, you know what was another like video? Someone brought this up in a chat, which I thought would be super cool, but I have no idea how they would make it work. For another video game license, to include the Big Daddy from BioShock.
That'd be interesting. They could honestly.
The drill is your weapon.
The drill is your weapon. Make the power similar to Blight.
Yep.
Because he does that little charge thing.
Yeah, or plasmids.
Or plasmids. I think the plasmids might be a little bit. I think plasmids for a survivor would be good.
That's true. Like as an added feature in like if you play against the Blight. I mean, not the Blight. The Big Daddy.
No, I mean like have the Big Daddy as a killer, but have whoever, I don't remember his actual name in the game.
Jack is the character in the game.
Have Jack's like one of his perks be plasmids. You start the game with 2 random plasmids from a pool of like 5.
Right. The problem, but I mean, I don't think you could have Jack be a survivor. Unfortunately, the only survivor that I can imagine from like the BioShock series would be like Booker DeWitt, and that's it.
That would be cool though.
Which would be cool. Or Elizabeth from
Elizabeth would
Infinite.
be neat. Yeah.
Elizabeth would actually be really cool.
I agree.
That would be so cool. Because they both face Big Daddies anyway.
Yeah, Big Daddies are in all of the games.
They're in all, well, they're not in Infinite.
No.
They're not in Infinite, but they're in the DLC for Infinite.
Yeah, so
they're in the chapter, I forget the name of the DLC. It's like the Beyond the Sea chapter.
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, something like that.
DLC, but I'm gonna just look this up because it's gonna bother me. What's it called? Burial at Sea. That's
Burial at Sea. Yep.
Which is one of the best DLCs I've ever played.
I think that would be cool having a Big Daddy. Going along with like the possession ghost type. You could do Alma from Fear.
Yep, I've never seen Fear, so I'm gonna have to watch that one.
Oh, that's a game.
It's a game, right?
Yeah. Fear was a trilogy.
Yeah, people mention Springtrap. People mention Chucky. People mention I'm trying to think of like what are other big ones. Pinhead. I know I've seen video of Matthew Cote. He's like, I would like Pinhead to be in the game.
Yeah. I mean,
he's from Canada. I looked it up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's like not a Canadian accent. All right.
No.
But like I know they want Pinhead in, which would be really interesting because I don't know how you would incorporate I mean, maybe like Pyramid Head, like you get trapped in like a lament configuration type thing, and like
maybe, or maybe it's something where similar to Plague, where there's things around the map that you have to like do. So like. Yeah, Pinhead starts with certain powers, and he can go around and solve parts of the lament configuration to cause more pain to survivors or something like that. Yeah,
true.
Be interesting.
It would be very interesting because then also there's like other Cenobites to summon and everything like that. The skins, I mean, the skins are right there.
Yeah.
You can have them. He can be Butterball. You could be Chatterer. You could be the lady.
Yeah.
You could be
most people would be the lady.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually I think Lady D would maybe be a eventual add-on. Maybe down the line. I'm trying to think of other like iconic like characters from video games, like horror characters.
There aren't a lot. I mean,
there are not a lot.
Resident Evil and Silent Hill are like the big two. And then going into other ones, you have like horror adjacent type games like Gears of War.
Yep.
But then you're getting into like shooters, and they won't fit into the world of Dead by Daylight.
No, they won't. Like Slender Man, people have talked about, but that I don't see that fitting.
I don't think that would be good for Dead by Daylight. Honestly,
it's like Springtrap. People bring up Springtrap from Five Nights at Freddy's, and I don't think that fits at all. It's like It's too goofy.
Yeah, I think it'd be too out of the box for behavior to do that.
It'd be way too out of the box. Otherwise, I can't really think of any other video games because I think they hit the big two.
Yeah, I mean they had the big two franchises in there already. So
yeah,
at that point,
yeah, I mean, I do think of like there should be like a killer toy type, like the doll. Like I'm sure there could be a killer called the doll. That would be cool, but I don't know what you would do with that. I mean, I guess that would be Chucky, right? He'd be the doll.
I don't know. I think Chucky would be hard because of hitboxes.
It'd be way hard because of hitboxes, exactly.
You'd have to make like a supersized Chucky almost.
Yes, which that doesn't work.
I mean, you could do at that point you could do like Brahms from The Boy.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you could do
Brahms from The Boy.
You can almost set it up sort of like Hag, where you can leave the doll. Yeah. Like leave your doll in certain spots, but you're the actual boy, and people can trigger it, and you can like crawl out of the doll as Brahms.
Right, exactly.
Could be that. That's the only way I can think you could do it.
Yeah, and it just sounds so complicated. Yeah, it's kind of like because it's like the good guy dolls, like incorporating the good guy dolls with Chucky, and like there's like there's regular toy dolls, and then there's like Chucky's one of them.
Yeah.
People want Pennywise. I don't know how that would work. People have made
oh my
ideas.
Gosh. Yeah, Pennywise would be so funny because think of it this way.
Yeah.
Imagine you're a survivor, a very, very sweaty survivor, going in with like DS Unbreakable, you got your flashlight, you got flashbang in your back pocket. You turn around to flashlight Pennywise, and his power is the deadlights, and it's a reverse flashlight.
Ooh, that would be cool.
And you're blinded, and now you're downed because you have Pennywise in your face. How terrifying would that be?
So one thing I don't think I mentioned also is part of the flashbangs and the blast mines is they blind anybody that's in that radius, not just killers.
Oh. So I didn't know that.
Yes. So I have been blinded because someone has dropped a flashbang near me when I'm a survivor.
So blinding survivors is a thing.
Yes, it is a thing.
Uh-huh.
So that's a thing that happens.
So the only downside to doing Pennywise is the eater of children.
Right.
So like you'd have to do one of the guys from the Losers Club as an adult, which you could do Richie.
Oh, you could do Richie, but I mean, it's already there. Richie, Beverly, any of them really. Yeah. Probably Beverly would be one of them. Richie would definitely be one of them, and then Bill. Yeah, there's your three right there.
At least those three.
At least those three.
But of course, everyone who's saying Pennywise is like, you got to do Pennywise and Georgie. I'm like, they're not going to put Georgie in the game because
they're not going to put Georgie in the game.
They're not going to have They're not going to have a child killer in the game. It's like not.
I mean, they already do have a child killer in the game. They have Freddy.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
They have a child killer in the game,
but they're not going to kill children in the game.
Yeah, no, they cannot have any children characters. That makes no sense.
I think they could do well with Pennywise.
Well, someone brought up the idea of like, what if Pennywise could shapeshift and like, let's say he appears as different types of killers to other survivors. So you could think you're playing against Doctor, but you're actually playing against Pennywise.
Huh. Yeah, I mean they could kind of do the deadlights as his power and make it like stack. Like say you get hit by the deadlights 3 times, you're left in a floating state. It's almost like a hook, or like the cage for Pyramid Head,
right?
Where you're basically floating until somebody comes and like snaps you out of it.
Exactly.
That would be kind of cool. Or if they don't want to play off the deadlights, you can make it so that Pennywise can go into the ground, similar to like a sewer system.
Yep, exactly. So there's a lot there.
Yeah.
There is a lot there. Otherwise, I can't really think of any other people. Candyman, I mean, he could send bees out. You know,
Yeah.
go through mirrors. You know.
Have mirrors all around the map, and
Yep.
yeah,
You can teleport through
could
mirrors.
do that, and kind of like a Freddy type deal.
Yep, I would say very similar to a Freddy deal.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, Jason would be great. I'm sure he'll be there eventually.
He'll get there eventually. I'm trying to look back.
He just wouldn't have bear traps. I think he would maybe be a bit more brutal. Like there'd be some more brute force type stuff.
Yeah.
He could not, like I think, one I think that could happen is like already kind of like a spirit fury type thing,
Hmm.
but like he just, if you have the perk, I don't know, like yeah, no, it's just spirit fury. At that point it's just spirit fury that he could like get hit over the head with a pallet and it just won't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They'll come up with something. I know like online people have already come up with ideas.
Yeah, there are
But yeah.
plenty of ways they can do him, but
Mm.
they have to wait for that legal battle to be done first, and I'm sure it'll come out.
Right.
I'm sure it'll come out on top. I'm sure, but like,
Yeah.
only time will tell.
Yeah, it's like the creeper. Like, well, the creeper is tough because the creeper flies, but then there's all the other stuff attached to the creeper that people
Yeah,
don't want to go, that nobody wants to go near.
yeah,
Yeah.
that one would be a
So
very hard one to balance.
they're making a remake of it right now, and it's owned by a new company, and the creator would not receive any compensation from it, like no
Oh,
royalty fees. So they might use like that version. They could if they wanted to, but I don't think they have any plans for it.
oh, okay.
Yeah, but you know, it's a shame because that's a cool character, but the person who owned the rights is a terrible human being. So,
Yeah.
yep. No.
Alrighty. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up there. I want to thank Emack for joining me today. I always enjoy having these chats with you.
Yes, of course.
Tell everyone where they can find you streaming.
Yep. So you can find me every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Oh no, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on twitch.tv/Emack401. You can also look me up on YouTube under Emack401. Trying to make videos each week. But that's, you know, just come down to the stream, say hi. We play Dead by Daylight. Every Monday I play a solo game. I'm finishing up Alien Isolation, and then I'm actually going into Resident Evil 2 right afterwards.
All right.
Yes.
I'll be excited to see that.
Yep, and the pleasure was mine. Thank you for having me today, Jagger.
Oh, of course.
I
like
love
I said,
having these talks with you.
Yeah, like I said, I love these chats. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in today for the debut episode of Cursed Tapes. Be sure to hit like, share this video, subscribe to the Box Network on YouTube, hit the bell to receive notifications when this show and all of our other shows go live. Be sure to tune in on Monday at 9 p.m. I'm sorry, Tuesday at 9 p.m. for Comic Relief, where myself and Xander will be breaking down the next episode of Loki. And I will be back for the second tape of Cursed Tapes next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I will be joined by another good friend of mine and a fellow streamer, Big Husky, where we're going to be talking about the revolution and rise of horror comedies, such as Cabin in the Woods, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, etc. So again, thank you all for joining us, and stay spooky, my friends.